Welcome to Global Tax Talks. I'm Will Morris, and I'm delighted to be joined by my London-based colleague, Dr. Giorgia Maffini, one of our star economists and a tax policy expert. Giorgia, welcome.
Thank you, Will. Great to be here.
Great to have you. So, the OECD has been working on global mobility now for some time, but at last they have actually produced something, an update which came out in November of 2025. And it looks like this is also part of a larger work plan. They've invited comments in a consultation, and then there's the promise of more work in 2026. So let's dive into that a little bit and ask a few questions. So what should business leaders need to know about the OECD's November 2025 update to the Model Tax Convention? And why does it matter for companies with remote cross-border workers?
That's right. Well, so what we have seen is an update of the Model Tax Convention, very much focused on Article 5 of the Model Tax Convention, where we have a bit more information on when businesses will establish a fixed place of business permanent establishment. And it turns out that with the update, that PE, that permanent establishment threshold, is a bit higher for two reasons. The first one is that we have now a quantitative threshold for employees working cross-border remotely from home or from arrangements that are equivalent to working from home, say from a holidays place. Mm-hmm. And so if the employees works from home for less than 50% of the total time on a rolling basis of 12 months, then generally there will not be a PE. I'm saying generally because in reality we are not looking at a safe harbor, but facts and circumstances always establish the final result. But the quantitative threshold is quite helpful. If then you go over that quantitative threshold, then it's the usual facts and circumstances analysis to establish whether you have a PE, but you also have to have commercial reasons in that state. Commercial reasons which could be the fact that the employee can establish better relationship with the customers, for example. So the threshold is a bit higher for these cross-border remote workers.
Okay, that's great. So that sounds like, provides more certainty there, which is great. But let's just dig down a little into the categories of cross-border workers, because I think there are probably roughly three types. The first are truly cross-border workers. Mm-hmm. So somebody works in France, lives in Germany. So that's one type of cross-border worker. Another is the type of cross-border worker, somebody who works for a company, is maybe based somewhere else, and has a home there. So how do they think about that? And then the third are what generally called digital nomads, if you will, which are people who just have no fixed abode in a sense, work-wise, but go and work where they want to. So with this set of changes, we're really talking about the second category, is that right?
That's right. Well, so we are looking at a narrow set of facts, really. Right. It's people working from another jurisdiction, from home, right. So not at the premises of the employer, but from home or something equivalent. So in a way, really a narrow fact of circumstances.
But you have to start somewhere, I guess.
That's right.
So this is a change to the commentary, and different countries have different rules about how the commentary applies. In some cases, it's ambulatory, which means an update just updates everything. But in other cases, if it's sort of after the treaty has been entered into force, then it doesn't have a change. So practically, what impact are these changes going to have?
So that's a very important question. We tend to think that because the update has been done with consensus at the OECD, we tend to think that this update will actually influence the interpretation of treaties by tax authorities. Most likely, it will also influence the interpretation of the courts, although the courts, they use the updated treaty to supplement the interpretation of current treaties. And we can think that this will influence the negotiation of future treaties, but so far, probably, we will see this new view on PE coming into audits, for example, by tax authorities.
Okay. So what practical steps should companies now take now that there is this clarification about the Home Office exemption and a PE, especially with the 50% working time test that you mentioned earlier? and also the need for a commercial business reason.
That's right. Well, so I think that the update really gives more flexibility, I think, to employers, a bit more certainty, even if, as we've said, we are not looking at a full safe harbor. So I think that for businesses that want to give a bit more flexibility to the workforce, we know that the request to work from home, remotely, cross-border, comes generally from the employees. So for the employers that want to give a bit more flexibility, clearly there is more room now. But again, because we are not looking at a safe harbor, we need to track facts and circumstances, and we definitely need to track that 50% threshold. So you need to know what is happening in your organization. You need to track that and make sure that you are, if you can, below 50% of the time.
Right. So no particular surprise. Even more data needs to be collected.
That's right.
And probably reported. So one final question. The OECD launched a consultation after the commentary changes came out, and obviously we'll be working on this in 2026. What do we expect to be the first things that they're working on?
So probably the OECD will also look at employees that work cross-border but in a jurisdiction where the employer already has some premises, some activities going on there. And I think the questions there will be a bit more difficult than when the employee simply works from home.
Yep.
And then we understand that the OECD will look also beyond corporate income tax. We'll look at personal income tax issue, social security issues, which are the really difficult questions around, for business, around cross-border workers, essentially.
Okay, so lots more to come on this. We will have to get you back.
Thank you, Will.
Giorgia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us, and come back next time so that you stay global tax ready.